Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back to another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here with Robbie, Bobby, and it's Thursday, dude.
We've made it. We're back.
We're back.
Should be a beatdown tonight. So yeah, but we're back.
That's the expectations, but it's starting to it just makes me feel like it's going to be 2024 in the third quarter, and we're all going to be going,
we'll see.
What's happening?
We'll see. I don't know. I just think Denver is a complete disaster. They don't know what they're doing. They're going to start gutting that team pretty soon, if you want my personal opinion. And then, yeah. So once they lose tonight, I think we're going to see a ton of players moving around.
The Frank Clark, is it Frank Clark?
Mm-hmm.
I always could confuse him with the actual Kansas City Chief defensive end. It is Frank Clark for sure?
Yeah.
Am I messing that up? Okay. He's out. They just signed him. He's out.
He's out. A lot of talks of the left tackle being traded. Judy, Cortland Sutton on the block. There's a lot of and they said pretty much everyone on the defensive side of the ball besides Patrick Surtain. So I'm expecting
What up, Willie?
A lot of movement coming soon.
What's up, Albert? Yes, I am too. Hopefully, we're going to get our hopes up for a ton of moves before the trade deadline, and we'll get something like
one trade.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what would be the
Mecole
Hardman, Josh Reynolds gets traded to the Rams, something like that. Like just the least exciting possible. So it's Thursday. We normally, and I see Albert and Willie watching, so we normally do our grid. So we're going to probably need help because it's always pretty tough. This one has some familiarity, though, from last week's, I feel like.
Okay.
Screen showing. I think so. I mean, we had Kansas City and I thought Jacksonville, or was it? We had Kansas City and Vegas, right?
Yeah. I like this. Okay.
We had this one before because guess what I guessed?
Bortles?
Oh, Blake Bortles is probably good, but I think that one's sneakier. Chris Conley. I think that's the exact guess I had last time. 100 plus tax. Oh, I know what we could do here. Willie will enjoy this one. I don't know if he actually hit this number. I know he had one really good season with them.
Oh, that's
baby.
100 tackles. We're on the D. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Devontae Adams, Green Bay Raiders.
Oh, duh. Oh, thank you, Willie. Raiders and Seahawks.
There's a wide receiver. It's at the tip of my
There's a running back.
Oh,
right?
Yes, Marshawn. I like it.
I'm rolling right now.
I don't even need to play. Jacksonville's tricky, dude. It really is.
It is. It's just such a poop place. Sorry, Jacksonville. I just mean how bad they have been. It would be like if anybody else had the Browns other than us.
Mm-hmm. Green Bay. See, those are two teams I'm not like super familiar with. Jacksonville, Green Bay.
Seahawks. Anybody you think of the Seahawks? Where did Eddie Lacy go after he was in Green Bay? Or did he never? Oh, was it the Seahawks? I think it was the Seahawks. Of course, they're not.
Yeah.
There's a really obvious one for Kansas City and Las Vegas that we're not thinking of, and I can't. It's not even coming to me. Do you think we could get some AJ Hawk here?
Yeah,
Has to be
AJ Hawk.
Boom, baby. And then we do some. I don't think Sherman ever had 100. I'm thinking the linebackers. Lofa Tatupa. I'm saying his last name.
No,
so he was a dog. Let me give it a whirl.
Look at you go, dude.
Back
Look
from
at you go.
Back from
AJ
06
Hawk
Madden,
played on
baby.
the Bengals. Okay.
I think that was towards the end.
Has to be.
Oh, good one, Albert.
There we go.
Marcus Peters.
We're gonna get this.
Yeah, Marcus Peters kind of been around the league.
Yes, he has.
And then Willie said, Seahawks traded a corner to the Jags. Seahawks traded a corner to the Jags. What corner and when? If you give me a year, it will help me. Oh, man, we're cruising right now. I don't want to be stopped.
And I haven't even done anything.
I don't think you've added a guess yet.
I haven't.
This has got to be you. No looking it up either.
No, the Jags, they're throwing me off.
Dude, look at this one. That's a gold platinum right there. That he doesn't even have a picture.
And Anthony Kitchens.
Hitchens. Kitchens. Well, unfair is because he's hometown. He's hometown guy. Seahawks traded a corner to the Jags, huh?
Mercedes Lewis. That's a good one.
That was you all alone, huh?
Let's go, Albert. No, that's Albert.
Oh, it took a while to load on mine.
Coming in fast and strong with these guys. That's a great one.
That is a good one. Am I spelling it wrong? MERC, right? Ain't gonna give us this one, dude. I must be spelling it wrong.
Mercedes, maybe? MA?
It is.
Oh, wow. See, I'm here.
Is there a tight end? Can we think of a tight end from Seahawks Jacksonville?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think because Seattle goes through tight ends like
so
nobody.
Does Jacksonville, honestly, until they got Ingram recently. Quarterbacks? Any backups?
That's yeah.
This one's gonna crush us. I think we're gonna have to kind of
kill us. This one's
I think
gonna
we're
be
gonna call it quits here. I don't want to just stay on this blank screen. Willie's giving us an answer, which I don't even. That name doesn't even ring a bell to me. So either he looked it up. Yeah, look at that 2.78. Went to his hometown.
That's crazy.
We did it, dude.
All right, there has to be
some good ones there. All right. So now that we did that, you got us on the news here. Can I pull it up?
Yeah.
Gonna try.
Pull it up.
News of the day. Thursday is often not filled with news outside of, Jerry Jeudy trade rumors, Kirk Cousins trade rumors, but the actual things that we're paying attention on Thursday is usually the practice report. So here are some guys that we saw.
Do you want an obvious one from the Jags and Seattle?
Yes.
Carlos Hyde.
See, I feel like Carlos Hyde played for Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
When? At the end?
I'll give you the years here.
Because we used Carlos Hyde for 49ers and Jags last one.
I'll get it for you. Go on. Read the
It was at the end. It was at the end with Chris Carson, I'm pretty sure. So some did not participate in practice today that I would be keeping a very close eye on. Kincaid and Knox, which is wild that both of the tight ends aren't playing or practicing. Miles Sanders, banged up shoulder. He's 2 did not participate in a row. Khalil Herbert, high ankle sprain. I wouldn't be surprised if by Saturday they put him on IR. I actually think that. Roshan Johnson, he's concussion. Thought he could get it because this was Thursday, but if he gets in a limited practice tomorrow, if he gets in an LP tomorrow, you're kind of feeling good. But at this point, you don't get the game plan. Minnesota's rush defense better than we thought. I think you got to kind of slide him to your bench, even if he plays at this point. Gibbs did not practice again. I don't think you could start him even if he gets in a limited tomorrow. Laporta, this is one of the surprise ones, Rob. Like I think he practiced yesterday, must have hurt his calf, did not practice injury, today. Yeah. If he comes back with at least a limited tomorrow, you're feeling better, but that's not good. Tank Dell with a concussion. I am going to 95% chance he doesn't play if he hasn't practiced yet. Zay Jones re-injured his knee. Bad. Probably he would be a great matchup play here, but you probably want to sit him now. And Daniel Jones did not participate. Neck. Man, I just rattled all of those, almost all of their injuries off without. This is how much I'm on Twitter, and I should really get off. Any outside of Laporta, anything concerning there for you? I mean, maybe all of it's concerning, but any highlights you want to add?
Zay, because I was hopeful with the matchup this week, he would have been in my DFS lineup if he didn't get hurt. And then Roshan, obviously it makes Dante Foreman somewhat of a interesting play for DFS purposes, maybe. And if you're struggling for a running back, like you could pick him up, plug him in, and I think he's going to give you a decent production. Like he's not going to win the week for you, but I think he'll be good enough to get you some points. So there's some players in there that you can kind of piggyback these injuries if they don't play and plug some players in.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because when we're doing the RB sits, or the RB starts, it's so hard to pick out an RB start that somebody's not already starting because at this point we're at there's maybe 20 locked and loaded RB starts already, and the rest is just kind of like a melting pot of nothingness. So when we get to RB start, I definitely try to go way deeper, and then I added 2 notably, obviously probably starters on teams that I'm expecting better. But to finish the news, Kmet, Pollard, Addison, Barkley, Waller, and Mike Evans were limited today. I have concerns for Barkley, I have concerns for Waller, and I have a little bit of concerns with Mike Evans. Addison, I think, will be fine. Kevin O'Connell pretty much talked about how they're game planning him in, but Barkley scares me. Waller with a groin injury, which is new, is scary. And Mike Evans with a hammy is scary.
Yes.
Eckler and Amon-Ra full practice. That's great to hear. And Eckler already said there, you did spell Eckler wrong. Eckler already said that he is 99% sure he's playing on Monday. So you can pretty much lock him in your lineup, I would say.
I think both of them are probably good to go. Amon, I was getting nervous with the abdomen because usually that turns into, if he misses multiple games, sports hernia, could require surgery, that kind of stuff. So him coming back to practice, getting in there, he'll probably be a full go this week. So that's great news because I was starting to get a little nervous about his potential outlook for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and then Deshaun Watson being out. Downgrade everybody on the team.
I'm
even
not
Ford.
playing. Yeah, I don't think you
I mean,
can
it's all
play
San
anybody.
Fran. Yeah.
Yeah, who can you play?
I guess Ford would be like the only thing I would consider because the RBs are thin.
Maybe.
And you make
Bentonio is questionable. The whole Postage, the offensive line's banged up, not playing well as is. It's going to be a tough go again this week for the Brownies.
So let's talk about some guys that you could plug in instead of these Brownies because you probably want to sit all of them. Let's kick off with some of our must starts. In the same way that we always do, let's start with our QB, our start 6. So go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, my start this week's Matthew Stafford going against Arizona. Arizona's allowing over 21 fantasy points per game to QB so far this season. I think it's top 5. And then Cooper Kupp is back, right? And he looked great. He looked like the Cooper Kupp of old. I think there were some points left out on the field last week between Stafford and Cooper Kupp not really being on the same page like they normally are. And Tutu, right?
I mean, for Stafford, that was a 65-yard touchdown. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's some points left out. I think Kupp and Stafford will get back on the same page like they always do. And Arizona, we know Arizona's defense is rough at best. So I'm looking for a really big day out of Stafford specifically and Cooper Kupp as well. But and then another guy, T-Law. I think he's going to be a really good play this week. Going up against the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. Colts. I'm sorry, Colts. So yeah, the Colts, it's one of those teams that we constantly kind of pick on. It's Colts and Chargers. Those are the two teams that secondary wise we go after. T-Law kind of looked good last week against a banged up Buffalo secondary, but he looked like he was starting to get back on track a little bit, get him back into the United States. He was in London for 2 weeks. So he'll get back, and I think he's going to have a pretty decent day.
Yeah, I think those are great. The thing with Matthew Stafford, because I have a ton of plays that involve this in DFS when we talk about that, is please, Arizona, stay competitive. They've been competitive all year. They have really been in games all year. They've been in games since he might have been the worst game that they've had this season. So as long as they're staying competitive, we could really see a big Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and even Puka, and even a flex of 2-2.
Even if it's not as competitive as we want, like look at what Justin Fields did in the first half of that game, right, last week against Washington. Like Stafford could put up 20 some points in the first half is how I'm looking at this. But yeah, in Arizona, I think will keep it somewhat close enough because the Rams defense isn't what they used to be. So they'll get some points put up on them. And there's something with Stafford that he's passing for over like 300 some yards per game, but he has I believe this is his worst touchdown percentage per pass of his career.
I'm pretty sure somebody had a good post about this,
and his highest interception percentage for his career right now per pass. So with Cooper Kupp coming back, I think those numbers are going to go back to the mean. Yeah,
Cards could be easily 3-2 right now.
Yeah, which is good. If anything, that's good for this matchup. This could be a very sneaky DFS play, building your roster around these two teams. But I think Stafford's touchdown percentage will get back to what he is used to, kind of come up a little bit. And I think there's going to be a game where he breaks out. And I think this is that game.
Yeah, I mean, if we could see him throw for 3 touchdowns, 275, I mean, that's a massive day. Who's your QB sit on the week?
CJ Stroud. Going.
I have CJ Stroud. Wow.
Nice. Going up against New Orleans. Again, that's one of those defenses I try to stay away from unless it's a locked and loaded, like Josh Allen, one of those guys. So CJ Stroud, I know he's in and out of people's lineups right now, is a very good streaming option, but this is a very tough matchup. Probably no tanked out like we were talking about. New Orleans shuts down the tight end position, which has been a go-to for CJ Stroud with Dalton Schultz the past couple weeks. It's going to be a tough day, I think, for that offense as a whole. And then I think Russ is kind of a tough play tonight going up against Kansas City as well.
Yeah, I think I have Stroud on the same thing. The defense is real. Expecting a lower scoring game. I'm not expecting Stroud to throw 3 interceptions. I'm just not expecting what we have seen from him. And I think it inevitably falls out of that top 12, maybe even that top 14 sort of area. My start is we're going to go with Dak Prescott. Bounce back game. Versus he's the one that's going the Chargers.
He's on my list as well. He's on my list. Yeah. I saw yours, so I was like, I'll let him have it.
Yeah, 31st against the QB. This is going to be a great Monday night game. I think CD is going to have a big game. I don't have him on the start list because if you have him, you're starting him. He's kind of the squeaky wheel right now, right? We've seen that with the elite wide receivers. It's been weird this season specifically because we're seeing it like immediately. AJ Brown whines about targets. Boom, gets loaded with like 12 the next game. Jamar Chase says, I'm always open. Boom, gets loaded with, 20 targets the next game. CD wasn't as vocal as those two guys, but he's got some hate coming his way. So not only is CD going to go off, but I think Dak has a bounce back game, and I hope this is a high scoring one. My QB sits, this one's weird. So I already talked about CJ Stroud. I had one other, Brock Purdy versus Cleveland.
Yep. Go ahead.
I think, you love Cleveland's defense, and they're good. They really are. And advocating to sit somebody against Cleveland's defense is new territory for us. But there's multiple reasons why this could be a horrific play and a trap to play Brock Purdy. If the Browns are without Deshaun, ideally they would want to keep the ball out of this offense's hand. That's probably not going to be possible anyways. But that San Francisco might just start thwomping us on defense, on not through Purdy is what I guess I'm getting at. And if that happens, what's Purdy really going to have to do? I just think he could be very much there playing fine. He could be 14 of 15, whatever it may be, 19 of 20, and just not need him as much as they had to. And maybe just the CMC show and maybe the defense show. Like I don't feel great about this game. I don't feel great about any of the starters outside of CMC, honestly.
It's the one of the lowest scoring games of the week. We're going to get into reasons why I'm down on some certain games. And this is one of them. The weather reports for kind of the Midwest area aren't great. It's cold, rainy. Winds are going to be up around 20 miles per hour. So I'm expecting this game to be very low scoring. And like you said, I think this whole game, I'm really nervous for the skill positions outside of CMC. So I'm going to try to stick away from most of those players just with this weather, right? So if trying to throw in 20, 25 mile per hour winds is no joke, especially when it's raining. I'm a little nervous about it.
I think I actually am, unless I'm starting Minshew and Purdy because they're my only options at quarterback. I think I would start Minshew. I'm really high on Minshew this week, actually. He's my DFS play. Surprise, surprise. It seems too cute right at this point, right? But I don't know. This doesn't feel like a good Brock Purdy game. Get to some of your RB starts and sits, Rob.
Yeah, starting the guy tonight, Isaiah Pacheco, against Denver. Again, a team that we pick on week in and week out, but it keeps kind of happening. So
I think he's a notably start. I remember at the top of the show I said, like, I think this is not me critiquing you picking him. I think if people have Pacheco right now, they're probably like he's locked in, right?
Yeah, most likely to an extent. I agree with that. He's one of those guys I've been in and out on the past couple of weeks just based off of matchups, but he's an easy start for me, and I think he'll be a top 12 running back this week. And then James Cook going against the Giants, kind of the same reason. I think the matchup is just too good going against the Giants. They are giving up, I think, top 5 fantasy points to running backs. So they're allowing the most rushing yards actually to running backs so far this season. Cook will be involved. He's kind of been steady, getting like 10 to 15 points per game, but I think this will be a nice boom game as well, probably top 12 performance. So those are two guys I'm really in on this week.
I like the Cook start. Definitely need to see a bounce back game from him right now.
Yes.
Let me put this. Should I start Kelsey or Hawkinson? With JJ gone, I have a sneaky feeling TJ will pop.
Again, that's a game where the weather is going to be very bad. And I think tonight's is as well. I think tonight's weather isn't great from what I saw.
Can you start both? Can you start the top dog? Who's in your flex that you can't run both of these guys? Because I'm curious about who your flex is. Because I do think both of them.
I think they're both going to have good days.
Is it PPR?
Yeah, I'm not anticipating like monster days, but I think Hawkinson has the potential to put up more than Kelsey.
Did DK get a limited practice in today, Rob? Did you see? Because he's
DK was, I think, limited.
Didn't practice Wednesday. We don't have a report on him yet from Sleeper, at least.
Kelsey with the ankle, but T Swift is supposed to be there.
I don't want you to bench either of these guys, and I think this week I would probably take Hawkinson over Kelsey, but I really don't want you to bench either of them. DK scares me because of injury, but if after tonight,
Kelsey going against Denver. How can you keep him out?
I know that's I would advocate to start both of them, but I don't know over DK either because it's just I'd rather have the wide receiver in there. He goes against Cincinnati. Their secondary is nothing. I'm going Hockenson.
I'm go Kelsey.
But that doesn't. I feel like we're just not helping him at all.
We're not. I'm going Kelsey based off the weather. So that's my reasoning why. Yeah.
Would love to start both. I hate starting flex on Thursday. I completely agree.
Well, you could flex.
They'll do that. Do that.
Kelsey in the tight end spot.
Put Kelsey in the tight end spot. See what happens with DK as the week progresses. I would advocate that we return to this. If I see you're from Twitch, if you want to chat with us, we're on Twitter at DadBodFS. I think we return to this come more news on DK Metcalf because did not practice at all yesterday. I think he'll be fine, but I honestly still wonder if I would start TJ Hawkinson over him because I think you're right. I think TJ Hawkinson is going to be that safety blanket for Kirk Cousins. I think Addison also will be, but I would love to if I had both Addison and TJ Hawkinson against Chicago. I would want to start both of them. Chicago's defense is terrible. You mentioned Denver's, but Chicago's defense ain't nothing good either, Rob.
They're the two worst. That's why it's like you got the two best tight ends going against the two worst pass defenses. So either way, I feel like you're going to have a pretty good. DK did not practice today, from what I'm seeing.
Are you seeing that on Sleeper because that's Wednesday?
I got 3-minute update on Twitter.
Ooh.
3 minutes ago.
So the gameplay in Top Dog should be let's get Kelsey in the tight end spot and consider doing TJ Hawkinson over DK.
Yeah, DK did not practice today. So that's concerning. That's concerning.
Who's your RB sits this week?
My RB sits Dame Pierce going against New Orleans. Again, I'm kind of staying away from the Houston team as a whole against one of the better defenses in the game right now.
Defenses.
What was that?
Go ahead.
Okay. They've allowed only one rushing touchdown so far this season, and we've seen with Dame Pierce, he kind of relies on that touchdown to catapult his points, and they're allowing under 4 yards per carry. So with that, with the struggles, I think the whole offense as a whole is going to go through this game. I'm kind of sticking away from Dame Pierce this week.
Dame Pierce has been rough this season, dude. Last 3 weeks have been encouraging, but it's been rough. He hasn't cracked the top 12 finish.
No, he's been, again, like 9 to 15 points, right around that range. But I'm not anticipating a touchdown, so I think it's going to be closer to that, single-digit number as opposed to getting into 10-plus points.
I'm going to run some of my RB starts, and they're deep, right? They're desperation plays because I think again, there's a lot of guys that we could talk about that you're probably having no choice to plug them in. I think Chuba Hubbard versus Miami, if Miles Sanders is out, is a viable RB option if you're desperate. I personally think it's Amari DiMercado versus the Rams, not Keontae Ingram. I think he's a viable option. I think he's a primary back. These are desperate. Like, I really need an RB2 this week. I have. Ooh.
Jeez. And you're still flexing DK?
Yeah, right. What is this 10 team? It has to be 10 team if you have that. Who's the other two wide receivers in there? Some notable starters that I wrote down on my list in case people wanted maybe more things to grasp and like the better place. Swift and Pacheco. Swift is again, surprise. He's in my DFS lineups. And Pacheco against Denver's defense tonight. But I like Swift against this Jets offense or defense. Sorry. A lot of the offense has to go through the run. They have been pretty locked down to receivers. I think Sirianni tunes into that sort of thing, and he typically focuses on what is this defense's weakness. I think Swift sees the ball a lot. I think the running backs in general, even Kenneth Gainwell, might have some value there. RB sits, one of the Rashad White versus Detroit, second best against the RBs. I think Rashad White is pretty much a plotter. I think this game is going to actually be. I have Detroit as the Lions as my defense right now, and I have a feeling Detroit really. This feels like a trap game, and I don't even know if that's considered a trap game because Tampa Bay has been pretty solid this year. He did say he's in a small league, so they are all kind of stacked. But yeah, if I can avoid starting Rashad White, I am. Here's one that I'm not advocating for a bench, but I just want to set that expectations. Breece Hall versus this Philly defense. He is very much going to have to do it in the pass game to succeed against Philly's defense. It's a tough start. Here's the last 5 running backs versus Philly's defense. Kyron Williams, 7.7 points. Brian Robinson, 13.1. Not bad. Rashad White, 7.2. Alexander Madison, 4.9. Ramondre, 14.9. He did 6 for 6 and had 64 yards receiving. So
it was week 1.
That was week 1. Had a good day receiving to save his day, because without that, I mean, that's 12 points right there. So yeah, Breece, set your expectations. It's going to be a tough week. I wouldn't put him in any DFS lineups. I would not bench him either, because like the RB position is too weak for that right now. But yeah, I ran through those kind of fast, but
I like it.
Oh, I had a lot in the RB room. So go ahead to your wide receiver start set.
Yeah, wide receiver start this week.
I agree, but the Ramondre one was noticeable, but they did go down early in that game. And then Kyron's been not world beaters, but good. That was Alexander Madison's only non-double-digit game. We all started hating on him, but maybe he's not that bad. Maybe he's just average.
He's average at best. Wide receiver start for me this week. The big one's Christian Kirk again, going up against Indy's secondary. He the same reason that I was so in on D-Hop last week against Indy's secondary is how they play. It's a very soft zone, which plays right into Christian Kirk's skill set. Like he's going to find those weak spots in the zone. He'll get open for T-Law to kind of pick him apart.
This was his goose egg, though.
I'm fine with it. Like he's built for this type of game. I'm expecting 8 to 10 catches, a big game out of him this week. And then I'm also in on Jacoby Myers versus New England this week, and Drake London against Washington. We just saw what DJ Moore did against the secondary. They've been giving up a ton of points to the wide receivers. Drake London's slowly coming along in this offense. He put up a pretty decent game last week, so I think it'll kind of carry itself over into this game. So I'm looking for those guys that have decent days.
I worry about the Christian Kirk start in this, but without Zay Jones, I could see it being a decent start. So I will say that. But yeah.
Well, when did he put up a goose egg? Was that week 1?
It hit 1.9. He had 1 reception for 9 yards.
Week 1.
Week 1.
Yeah, it's a completely different offense now. Kirk was on the field.
Changed the whole offense.
Christian Kirk was on the field like 60% of snaps that week. It's up to like 85. So I'm fine with it. He's asserted himself as that wide receiver 2 in this offense, if not wide receiver 1 in this offense. He's getting a ton of targets. I think it'll continue. And I'm in on him for this week. My wide receiver sit for this week, Jordan Addison. Okay.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. He's dealing with some injuries, nicks and stuff. But again, it's mostly based off of the weather report. And I'm not expecting a high scoring game at all, to be honest with you. Again, they're kind of having to re-script their offense on a fly with JJ being put on IR. We don't know how it's really going to play itself out. And they're saying KJ is going to kind of go into the JJ role, but who really expects that right now? There were reports that KJ is going to take over that role. Addison will step into what KJ was doing, because KJ was the wide receiver 2 on this offense. He was running the routes. He had the route participation, all that sort of stuff. But even so, I think these teams know that they're going to have to, passing wise, they're going to have to focus in on TJ Hawk and Jordan Addison. So until I can see Jordan Addison really handle what these defenses are going to kind of do to him, double team him, put a safety over top and kind of shadow him around, I think it's going to be a tough game. And again, 20-mile-per-hour winds, raining, 40-degree weather. I don't anticipate a high-scoring game at all.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Weather aside, because I can hear you on that. Jordan Addison is getting
my main reason, but go on.
This is not KJ's role. No way.
Just going with reports, dude.
Kevin O'Connell, straight out of his mouth said, "I'm going. We're going all gas on Jordan Addison. No
sure.
pun intended."
That's fine.
What else do you need to hear? All gas, no brakes, baby. It's Jordan Addison. This is going to be his team now. He gets plugged right into that JJ role. KJ Osborne says exactly what he was doing.
Fine. Even if Jordan Addison goes into that role of JJ, he's not JJ. Like, let's not.
I agree.
Let's not get crazy.
He's not KJ Osborne.
No, I agree with you, but he's going to be the focal point. He's going to be the focal receiver. So he's going to get that corner, the number one cornerback. He's going to get a safety over the top. He's going to have to show that he can beat that stuff.
What is that? You know?
But it's all I'm saying is it's a perfect mesh of losing JJ, weather, all this sort of stuff coming together where I don't think either team's really going to put points up.
I don't even know the weather reports, so I'm glad you're bringing those up because I think that's valuable. But outside of that, I have Jordan Addison as a start this week. I think if he gets a full practice tomorrow, even a limited, as long as he's like cleared and not game time, he is a must start for me against this terrible defense, terrible secondary. What do you want to do? I guess the weather scares me a little bit, but he's must start. So I got to
give you 10
top
points.
24, right?
Okay, top 24.
Yeah, that's a must start, right? That's what I'm saying. He's top 24 this week.
Sure.
Did you have another sit? Did I cut you off? I figured that would be a good segue. Just roll into why he's a start.
This was before the Deshaun Watson news came out, but Amari Cooper. I think he's a sit. Again, we talked about it. I think everyone on the Browns offense is a sit with what's going on. And again, the weather's not looking great. And then they're throwing PJ Walker in off the practice squad to be the starter. So not anticipating a lot going on for this offense.
It's so funny. Our wide receivers are the most meshed thing that we have here because as my other start is Calvin Ridley versus Indy. So on the other flip side, which I do think Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk can succeed, especially with no Zay. I think it's usually two of the three guys. If Evan Ingram goes off, then we're both screwed, I guess. Calvin Ridley went off on them the first week. The concern I have a little bit with Calvin Ridley is he got shut down that second half. They stopped whatever he was doing, which just makes me concerned. Like, okay, do they know his game now? Or are they going to stop him going forward? This is one of the games that I'm targeting as I expect a pretty hot game. I hope it's a high scoring one. Wide receiver sits, Brandon Ayuk, been a dog. He's always a dog. We've always advocated for him. Cleveland secondary, combine that with what I expect the score to be, which is not great. I just don't see him getting enough targets to necessarily go off. Yeah, I'm not sitting him over guys like, I don't know, way down the. I probably wouldn't sit him over Tutu Atwell or something. But if you have some viable options, if you have DK Metcalf, if you're just stacked at the wide receiver, I think he's the one that's the odd guy out. Second player I'm sitting, Hollywood Brown this week. Ahkello Witherspoon has been lights out for the Rams, and I expect Hollywood to kind of get shut down this game. I think the QBR against Witherspoon has been like 20. I think it was QBR 20.9 or something. He's just been absolutely as a shutdown corner. I'm going to segue here, unless you had any notes on this, because I think it goes right into my next point.
Go ahead.
Offenses need to run through the tight ends against this defense, this Rams defense. And we saw that last week. We saw Dallas Goedert. It was both of our start. It was the one we had a gut feeling on, and we knew the Rams were terrible against the defense. We're running it back. I am. Zach Ertz versus the Rams.
He's on my list.
They can't guard the tight end. I think they're gonna need to pass. Hollywood is not going to be an option. I think if you want to get really sneaky and very, very, very desperate, Rondale Moore has this high upside sort of day. Blowout
him over Michael Wilson.
Here's the reason why it might be yes for me. Although Joshua Dobbs said, I got to get you more targets before the fourth quarter to Michael Wilson. Part of me wonders, is Rondale going to get used in the rushing attack a little bit? Is he going to be mini Debo?
I would assume.
Like Willie saying, start Debo here. I don't disagree with you, Willie. I'm really worried about this Browns San Fran game. So I think Rondale is a sneaky add if he's out there and you have the spots to add him on your team, because I definitely know it's not Keontae Ingram. If DeMercado proves to be decent, though, it will keep Rondale outside as a wide receiver mostly. I got no tight end sits because I'm assuming most people are too desperate for me to say. And a lot of the tough matchups are the guys that are at the top. I mean,
George Kittle. Yeah.
You're not benching Kittle, right? I mean, you can't.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess we talked about it right at the top of this, but I still wouldn't bench him over. What would you bench him over? Maybe Zach Ertz, I guess, but
I would think hard about Logan Thomas, Zach Ertz, some of those guys. I would think about it. Okay. Again, me and you are harping on that game that we just don't think it's going to be a high scoring, high pass attempt game. Logan Thomas is one of my tight end starts this week going against Atlanta. They're giving up the second most fantasy points to tight end. And Logan Thomas is kind of solidifying himself as a go-to target for Sam Howell. So I think those are options, but it's tough to say sit George Kittle because he could easily come down with 2 touchdowns, 5 catches and like 40-some yards. So it's a tough sit, but there are interesting options. I think there's a lot of lower end tight ends this week that have good matchups, like Logan Thomas, like Zach Ertz, some of those kind of guys that should see very good days going against subpar secondaries against the tight end.
Right. So here, it's not only whether and when that we're worried about in this game. We're worried about this part. Blowout if our offense can't move the ball. Not only are we concerned that our offense won't move the ball, and we're trying not to get too cute when we're saying this, so I promise you. But there's a possibility that the San Fran team goes up 21-0 by the first half, and they're just running Jordan Mason. Probably Jordan Mason. Elijah Mitchell. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's not super conservative, but at the same time, he knows that injury history of all his players, where especially if it's bad and wet, like why is he going to risk it if they're playing PJ Walker? No, our rush defense is fine. None of that. No. That's not what we're getting at either. I think we're getting at what is Cleveland going to do offensively? Like, can PJ Walker take care of the ball? Is he not going to throw any pick sixes? Like, is it going to be all San Fran the whole game? And if it is, I mean, maybe you could get the Debo points early on in the game. That's very possible. But what if this gets ugly real fast before the offense even gets to it? Before the San Fran offense even gets to go, right? Like, what if PJ Walker comes out terrible and the defense has a pick six right off rip, and then it's back to PJ Walker, waste time, terrible field position. It seems like it's going to be very one-sided. I don't think the Browns are going to keep in this game if their offense can't move the ball, which is what I'm worried about. That's my primary concern right there. Our offense can't move the ball. I trust the Browns defense. They're going to be tired though, which is another reason that we're not saying get too cute. We're just kind of putting on asterisks on these guys. Debo, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Could be scary. I don't want to tell people to get too cute. Like, right, even when I put Brandon Ayuk on my wide receiver sit, I'm not getting too crazy here, but if you have 3 studs, 2 wide receivers and 1 flex that are better than Brandon Ayuk or even close in that vicinity, Brandon Ayuk's odd man out pretty easily for me. But they would have to be close within that. I'm not going to say bench him over because I think he's in one of those you can't bench Ayuk. He's getting to that point. Debo's close to that range area as well. But like, if you got 3 studs, I think I benched him. Here, I'll tell you exactly. I have him benched in a league. Let me read the wide receivers that I have going instead. Oh, I don't have him benched yet. I don't. He's still in my starting lineup. I have Brandon Ayuk, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, and if I was going to bench him, it would be for Michael Thomas. But I don't think I would do that. Like, right? I don't think I would bench Brandon Ayuk for Michael Thomas. But I'm concerned about his week.
I'm with you.
Did you want to do we have time for Baby Bowl? Do you want to call it?
DFS.
Oh, yeah, we have DFS.
Idiot.
Run through it, Robbie. Let's hear this.
Let's run through it. We'll go through it quick for you guys. I was talking about this game earlier. My kind of game that I'm building off of is that Arizona Rams game, kind of more heavy on the Rams. I'm going Matthew Stafford for my QB. Again, I think this is going to be a breakout.
I think we need to start labeling this, but this is FanDuel prices.
I agree. We should do that. But yes, this is FanDuel. So Matthew Stafford going up against Arizona. I think this is a breakout week, and I paired him with Cooper Kupp. Those are my 2 big plays this week. I'm expecting really big things out of them. And then I followed that up with Zach Ertz coming in for my tight end, where I think that he's going to be the outlet for this pass attack of the Arizona Cardinals. And then I went with Ramondre Stevenson for my running back going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. We know that the Raiders defense is atrocious. And there's talks that the coaching staff has been saying that they need to get Ramondre more involved in the pass game, which kind of opens him up. I think that's where he is really good. And I think they're going to try to utilize him in that way, kind of like week 1 where we were talking about. And then I went back to Jacoby Myers to kind of counterbalance that game out. I said earlier, I think Jacoby's going to have a pretty nice day. We know that New England kind of picks a guy to shut down. And if it's either going to be Josh Jacobs or it's going to be Devontae. I think it's going to be more of Devontae. So Jacoby Myers should be that go-to wide receiver in this game. And then I went with Adam Thielen as my 3rd wide receiver. Again, I think he's going to be a big. Why do I have Zach Ertz? Why did I do that? Who is he
at Miami? Against? He goes against Rams.
Yeah, yes. Thielen against the Rams. I miswrote that.
Thielen doesn't go. Thielen goes against Miami.
Ertz goes against the Rams.
There you go.
Correct. There we go. Yes, Adam Thielen. They're gonna have to pass the ball to kind of try to stay in this game with Miami. He's the focal point of that offense. He's going to come down with catches. The secondary is not that great, so he'll be fine. I think he's going to put up a pretty decent day. And then I went with Jalen Waddle against Carolina. That's the one that kind of scares me because I can see them getting up so early. And I paired him with Raheem Mostert, which I don't like doing. We talk about this every week, that I just seem to have a running back and wide receiver.
I know, you do that a lot.
And I don't like doing it, but the only team I'm willing to do it with is Miami, because I think it's the only team that can produce wide receivers and running backs at a high clip with how much they score. So that's why I went with that. And he was, for $6,800, I thought he was pretty good value. And then again, I've been talking about this. I think this Chicago Bears Minnesota game is going to be very, very low scoring. So I went with Chicago as my defense. I don't love it, but for $3,200, saving a bunch of money, I was able to get a couple players in there that, like Cooper Kupp and Mostert and Stafford all in one. I thought it was good value for how I think that game's going to play itself out.
Jordan Addison's about to light you up, Chicago Bears. I think I almost think in my DFS, like I try to make an effort to pick a defense that I think is going to do well. But last week when I had no cash left in the DFS, I used the Giants. It was the only defense I could afford. It was the cheapest one. I think it was $2,000 on. They put up 12 points. And I'm like, this is kind of I love this. I spent $2,000 on this and you guys put up 12. Let's go. The Giants. Yeah. It is kind of just, defense is so iffy. Like they could, the Bears can give up 30 points, but if they have a pick six, they had a solid day.
I agree.
So it's like hard to always like anticipate that.
It is. You can't you can't bank it on turnovers and stuff like that. I'm just going with, I think the game's going to be a slop fest, real low scoring. So that's why I went with that defense. Again, the only one that's really concerning me out of this lineup is Jalen Waddle, but I think he has he seemed healthy last week, kind of got back on track with where he was last year. So I think it'll kind of carry over into this game against Carolina, who said,
Ramondre scares me.
Who does?
Ramondre.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other options for them to go besides to Ramondre, right? Like Mac Jones can't throw the ball. We've seen it
going down. And
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's a gut. It must be a gut feeling.
On Ramondre?
I mean, it's the Raiders. The Raiders defense is the second most on DraftKings, 3,900 behind the 49ers.
Yeah. But yeah, it is somewhat of a gut feeling where I think the Raiders defense is terrible. New England's offense hasn't done what they want to do, so they're going to have to pivot. And I think the only pivot that they can do is getting Ramondre more involved in the pass game, kind of help Mac Jones
get in a rhythm,
calm down a little bit, as opposed to trying to force feed it downfield. And then we see those picks and stuff like that. So that's why I think Ramondre is going to be a little bit more involved. And yeah, he hasn't looked that great this season by any means, but his best game that he had, like you said, was week 1, where he put up 15 some points and he had 6 targets. I think that's what we're going to see this week.
I had Ramondre in my very early drafts, but it was very much like that early thought. What else are they going to try? And Ramondre does seem like it could be that big part, but it's scary. It's a risky one.
It is.
I ended up, instead of going Ramondre, spending a little bit more on the RB position. But the game that I'm highlighting is Indianapolis and Jacksonville. I do have one that does highlight. I have Stafford in my secondary DFS lineup. But in this one, Gardner Minshew, I think, could come out. I think he's 5,000 on DraftKings. I think he's one of the cheapest ones behind Zach Wilson. I think the only person cheaper is Zach Wilson that's starting this week. I'm pretty positive. And I paired him up with his buddy, Josh Downs, for 4,100. That is a 9,100 stack. He likes Downs. He targets Downs. It's low risk, high reward, in my opinion. I think Gardner and Downs I feel like Gardner looks at Downs way more than AR does. I brought it back with the guy that I said is a start this week, Calvin Ridley, 6,700 against Indianapolis. That secondary, me and Rob typically attack that one. I'm going to finish out the wide receiver and flex here. Go Garrett Wilson against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have been pretty horrendous to wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the highest risk here that could potentially change for me, because
that's risky.
Because the Philadelphia Eagles aren't great against receiver doesn't mean that Zach Wilson won't be seeing ghost by the end of this game. So we could I could wiggle that out. I haven't decided yet. Jamar Chase, 8,300, big spend on him. I think a lot of people are going to kind of tell themselves, I don't want to do Chase again because he had such a good game. What are the chances he runs it back? I'm not saying he's going to get 3 tutties again, but the chances that he runs it back with a hurt T. Higgins is actually pretty great. The secondary has been horrendous. They are looking to lean on Jamar Chase to get that offense going. I spent on the RB position. I said at the top of this, I'm going Bijan. I feel like Bijan is in my lineup almost every week, and I am hoping for the big Bijan game here.
Yeah, it's got to come soon.
Derek Brown posted something about Washington's allowing big explosive runs, and that this matchup is heavenly. I saw his tweet and I said, I got to get Bijan in there. Because at one point I was trying to go cheap on the RBs and there really isn't any cheap options. Dude.
No, there's not. It's tough this week.
It's tough. Roshan was one of them, and I don't even want to trust it now. It's been too long. Like I not in DFS, I might put him in some lineups, but at this point he's been out for most of the week. They're game planning to have Deontay, and Deontay will be a part of this no matter what now, even if Roshan plays. So I went Bijan. I also came back with DeAndre Swift against this New York Jets rush defense, which again, they're great against the pass, not so great against the run. Give me the guy that I think they're going to use a lot, the Philadelphia Eagles, in this game to win. Like you, I have Zach Ertz as the tight end. Defense. Have Detroit Lions right now. I said this at the top of the show. I may pivot to Downs as a dog. He sure is. I might pivot to Tampa Bay.
Switching up spots.
I know he did. I might pivot to Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, which is $200 saving. I kind of am worried about Detroit going down to Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay actually defense has been pretty solid. Jared Goff away has been a notorious issue for his career. He's been better at it this year, but are we going to see a down Goff day? And should I take that cheap cut and get a little bit better of a wide receiver? That might be my move there. So over Garrett Wilson. It's my DFS lineup.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson's the one that scares me, obviously, against Philly, but I like the lineup a lot.
If there was a better quarterback, it would be so great.
Yeah. A cheap RB that I've been throwing around in my head a little bit is Jeff Wilson. If we know that he's going to play.
So I think that's a great big tournament play, right? I think that
I think he's going to be someone that's in at least one of my lineups if we know that he's going to play. We just haven't gotten the final word. Again, I just think there's too much there's a lot of room for those running backs to make some noise. And even if Wilson's out, I might start Ahmed in one of my DFS lineups, because I think, again, if they get up big, they're going to take Mostert out with A-Chain being hurt. I think there's going to be enough room for the backup running back in that of Miami to put up some points. I'm trying to figure out who it's going to be.
Yeah, I think if Miles Sanders is out, you look at Chuba Hubbard, 4,300 on DraftKings. I mean, that is value at its finest. I think if Miles Sanders is out, it's not as low percentage as you would like for. Tell him, Willie. A-Chan.
I'm sorry, I can't get it right.
Chuba at 4,300 is great price, but the percentage will probably shoot up if Miles Sanders gets rolled out. So that's to keep in mind there. But if you're looking for a cheap option, it could be potentially an option.
I like it.
Robbie, it is 8:02. You ready to go watch some Thursday night football?
It's game time, baby.
Game time. We will be back. Well, not you, Robbie. I think it's me and Norton. We'll be back Sunday morning for your last minute. Not ever. Not ever. No.
Yeah, I've done every Sunday this year.
No, you haven't.
Maybe I missed one.
You missed one that I was on. I think it was me and Alex. Yeah, I think it was me and Alex. Or me and Norton.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all right. But you have been on there like crazy. But I'll take the reins from here, buddy boy. I'll be there Sunday at noon with, I believe it's Norton. We'll do some last minute start sits. And then we'll be back after the week. They balled this week. They balled.
Norton's out here.
Norton's out here just balling.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, Willie said it was like a 2K step back. Again, we'll be back Sunday. And until then, let us know if you have any questions at DadBodFS on Twitter. For myself, for Robbie Bobby, we love you guys. Peace. Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies